All right, welcome back. I am Jim. Deb is here.
Hello.
So is Jack.
Honey.
And you guys give it up good and loud for Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth.
Thank you.
The international traveler
That's right.
he is.
That's
Good-
right.
Good God, buddy. My
Man
God.
of mystery.
I guess we should be thankful you're here, not on Zoom.
You know, I'm kind of thankful. You travel. It took me 26 hours to get home.
Oh, my God.
So that's a thing. Yeah, I was exhausted. I missed my connection in Chicago, of course.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of complaining and whining, and my wife was not a person you could talk to at that moment. So,
good trip, though? Overall good trip?
dude, it's awesome. Man.
Yeah.
You know, the Europeans, they live differently than we do, and I certainly am always jonesing to get back and get to work because I'm a good American and I like to work. But while you're there, it's chill, man. It's wine and cheese, baby.
Do you believe that you could get into that? Do you believe, and you're right. I mean, because, I talk about this study that I read a few years back, and they went around the world and they asked people from other countries about Americans, and they asked them a myriad of questions about Americans. And then they kind of pulled all that information together to get a broad scope of how other people in other countries view Americans.
Yeah.
And the two things that stuck out is you will never outwork an American.
Yep.
And when the S hits the fan, regardless of our differences, we come together to win.
100%. I think that's true.
So it's very interesting that you say that. Do you think you could take on that European lifestyle? Scott, it would be impossible for me. On my days off, I still get up and do the same exact routine as if I'm preparing for a show every day.
You're going 100 miles an hour when you're sitting still, so I don't think you could do that. But yeah, but I'm the same way. Like, dude, I'm ready to work. Like, I got home, I'm like, give me something. I got to do it.
I do not have that chill button very long.
I have it, but it only lasts for a little while.
Right. And the thing is you're on vacation, it's finite anyway. So you can mega chill because at the end of this, you're going to be grinding.
That's for sure.
Right,
but they know how to do it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of grinding, before we get started here, I know you guys have a special event coming up here soon. You guys do some seminars once a month and try to give some information to people out there. Tell us a little bit about it.
So we call this the 5 questions the mass affluent fail to ask their financial advisor, because there's probably more than 5, but these are the 5 critical ones we talk about. It's November the 15th. It's at 11 a.m. At the Country Club of Orlando. We've reserved a nice little spot there. So it'll be informative. We serve food, so you get fed as well. And if you want to check on that or RSVP to that, you can call us at 407-648-1881 or go on edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and there's a place to do that. So these events are fun. We're not pitching anything. We're not selling anything. It's just typically informative stuff that most people haven't stopped to think about.
Really?
Yeah.
And for every financial outlook?
The mass affluent are technically people who have $100,000 to $1 million in liquid net worth, but you certainly don't have to be there to do that.
Right. Yeah. Well, good. All right. So 407-916-1041. That's EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. You can make your reservation there November 17th at Orlando Country Club, 11 a.m.
It's 11 a.m. And call us at whatever you said, 407-648-1881. Whatever my phone number is.
All right. So you said every time I know you're coming in, every Tuesday, I'll send you a little message in the morning. Hey, what are we doing today? And the very first one I laughed at openly because when I open up in your message, it says America. It doesn't suck, basically. So tell me what you mean by that, because that's an interesting concept. We hear a little differently sometimes these days.
Yeah. So you know how people are. I don't know if it's always been this way. And when I was younger, I just didn't care or didn't notice. But people, I'm pushing 60, and people my age tend to see the new generation as a problem. They're not wanting work. They don't want to do this. It's all going to hell in a handbasket kind of stuff.
Hey, we're a nation in decline.
We're declining. And
get off my lawn.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. What is the nation or the decline? What empire do we often get compared to when people say that?
Roman.
Roman Empire, right?
Isn't that what guys think a lot about?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So the truth of the matter is that's not new. Since I was looking at newspaper articles somebody put in front of me. There was an article in 1917. The headline was, "No sense of responsibility. We're a nation in decline. We're going to become the Roman Empire." That was 1917. The next one was 1951 when the New York Times posted something that the Catholic Archbishop at the time, I don't know which one because I know there's a lot of them, said, "We are a corrupt nation. We are morally bankrupt, and we're all going to where, and we're going to be like the Roman Empire." The last one was Billy Graham, who said, same thing. The nation's going to hell in a handbasket. We're going to be just like. So again, I hear this all the time. We're going to be the next Rome, but the reality is nothing could be farther from the truth. In 1980, it was Japan. Remember, Japan was buying up all the real estate.
Yeah.
They bought Pebble Beach famously.
Yep, sure did.
And what did we do? We let it all go down into the toilet, and then we bought it back from them, right? So you're welcome, Japan. And then more recently, it's China, right? China's going to eat our lunch, and it's going to do this, that, or the other. Some people say, well, the decline of the dollar, it won't be the currency of the world. But we actually, more dollar-denominated transactions take place in the world today than took place 30 years ago.
Wow, really?
So a lot of this stuff is kind of crap, to be honest with you. We like to grumble. I guess we reach a certain age and we just want to complain about something, and that's something I hear quite frequently.
Yeah. So basically, are you saying this for the outlook so people don't really? Do you think that in times like this, people hold on to their money? They're a little afraid to go out there and invest because they're like, oh, I better hold on to this. You never know what's going to happen. The government's in turmoil, and all I hear throughout the world is how we're a nation in decline, and at any moment, our entire way of life is going to collapse.
Yeah.
Is that one of the things you think that maybe holds back people from making a decision that could really change their life in the long run?
I think fear is probably the number one motivator of people who invest. And it frustrates me because maybe we are a nation in decline. Okay, now what? Right? Yeah. Now what are you going to bury it in your backyard? Because if ultimately it's a nation that declines and falls apart like the Roman Empire, well, it's corn seed and gunpowder then, right? Give me an example. I say to people all the time, if AT&T and IBM and Caterpillar and Walmart and Exxon and Chevron and all these major companies go out of business, you put your money in the stock market, you bought these stocks because they pay dividends and you thought they were safe, and they all go out of business. Do you think there's some scenario where you're not fighting with rocks in the street? Because there isn't one.
Yeah, there's not.
So there's no person or place or bank or place you can go in that doomsday scenario. So it's silly to even talk about.
It really is. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned Caterpillar as one of those big companies.
Yeah.
I've just now realized the scope of the Caterpillar business, and a lot of people here in America believe, they make bulldozers.
You have no idea.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Dude, I've learned this. Their apparel line.
Yeah.
The stuff that just has their name on it is a multi-$100 million business. Just the stuff they print that you wear, not even counting the machinery.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is a gigantic company, a global monster of a company.
They push dirt all over the world.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff.
And the interesting part is, and please don't call me or say I'm making a political statement because I'm not. But the reality is, if you look at the last 3 years, the median net worth of a family has grown by 37%. Up from $140,000 up to like almost $200,000. And I'm not saying that's rich, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just telling you, it doesn't appear that we're falling apart at the seams, despite what you see on the news.
Right? Yeah, there are increases. Everybody has it. Yeah, I just read that same article. It was very interesting. I didn't get into depth in it, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And again, a lot of people are worried that the dollars and no doubt China and some of these other BRIC nations would like to see us less dominant in the currency department.
Yeah, but I mean, but their real estate. You read about their real estate, Evergrande, and an entire thing over there. It's not like China's doing great. They have a giant infrastructure they can't pay for. And again, it's not like we're the only ones in a situation that is kind of not sketchy, but one of those things where everybody has a time in their life where things are a little up in the air.
Yeah,
I think in the U.S. things are a little up in the air right now.
I mean, we're the only nation of the G7 nations that has beat the IMF forecast coming out of COVID. So
really?
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
I'll be damned.
Yeah. So the reality is, could it be better? It can always be better. Everything can always be better. We can always find something to complain about. But it's still, as I come back from Europe, it's still the greatest country in the world, and I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, very good. All right, we're here with Scott Brown, Edgewater Family Wealth, and we're talking a little bit about money. Now, we just got through talking about that. Now, it says here the second thing is, are you trying to get rich twice, or are you trying to enjoy your success and retirement? Now, before you answer what that is, because I do not know, I think I have an idea. I think I get caught up in this a little bit myself. Like, when I look at my how I save money in my portfolio and things like that, I always wonder, am I in a good position? And the internet, specifically social media, is inundated with these pop-up memes or, hey, this is the average. Are you average? Click here and find out where you are against the nation and their savings at your age. So you'll click on it, you see that graph, and you go over there, you're like, I'm 55 years old. How much should I have? You're like, oh, God.
Right.
You're, oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm okay, I guess. But when you are somebody who has maybe just started saving maybe in your 30s, 30, 31, 32, and you start looking at that chart where you should be at 45, it's got to be a little terrifying. What exactly do you mean by the statement you said today?
Well, the first thing I'll say about that is if you look at the wealthiest people in the world, and especially in this country, they've all been broke numerous times.
Oh, yeah.
There's very few examples of somebody who just has straight line growth, whether that's Elon Musk or Mark Cuban or whoever, whoever, it doesn't matter. They've all had struggles and failures. So getting all, especially in your 30s, getting all bent out of shape about how you compare according to some meme. It's first of all, it's ludicrous. But when I talk about retired people, when I talk about people who retire, and maybe they've spent their life accumulating, they've been responsible, they've been thoughtful, they've been practical, they've taken their time, they've been patient, they've done all the things they were supposed to do. And then 35 years later, they retire, they have, 300 grand, 500 grand, $1 million, whatever it is. And then they decide they're going to really go for it. Everything they've done to be successful out the window now. And now they're going to be traders, right? Go play golf. You're already rich. Don't try to do it twice.
Right.
Because it almost never works.
Right, exactly.
Like you've bought all these mutual funds in your 401k, and maybe they were boring or you didn't love them and they didn't grow real fast, but they grew, and now you got 500 grand, you got $1 million, and now you're going to open a brokerage account and you're going to buy Bitcoin.
Wow.
This is not your best idea.
So when you work with people over at Edgewater Family Wealth, and you see them come in, what is do most people retire at 65? Or 67 is the full benefit age, right?
For guys our age, it's now 67.
67.
Yeah, the full retirement age.
Do people even talk about that number in reality? Or most people work after that, like going back to our Americans got to work thing, almost afraid of retirement?
Sure. Well, I think, first of all, 65 was something that came around about at the turn of the last century. It was based on a pension system. And remember, people were doing backbreaking work back then. Our ancestors, our grandparents were farmers and industrial workers, so their bodies were basically broken at 65. Now dudes are, they're skateboarding at 70. So, I mean, I think it's an antiquated idea that you have to retire at 65. We know from a health standpoint and from a mental standpoint, it's very bad for you to be stagnant in any way, shape, or form, physically or mentally at that age. So I'm not in favor of, I'm going to quit doing everything. I'm going to sit in my easy chair and watch TV very loudly, as I like to say. You can still do things. In fact, if you work part-time, you're a golf starter, you work at Walmart, I don't know what you like to do. Go do it, make some part-time income. That takes a lot of strain off of your retirement. But spending your day staring at your brokerage statement and calling people like me to understand why of your 11 stocks, one of them is down is really not a good use of either of our time.
You get that often, I guess.
I'm not saying that's ever happened, but it may very well have. Today, in fact.
Number one mistake is people kind of approach that retirement age. Maybe they've got a little nest egg in their 401k. They're looking at getting Social Security. Do most of them go in and they just supplement their Social Security with a certain dividend from their 401k to reach a certain number that that's the nut they need to have the life they want? Is that basically how it goes?
Yeah, as you get into the red zone, which I call the 3 or 4 years leading up to retirement, you kind of start to get a handle on what you need to spend. I spend $73,852 or whatever number you come up with. You realize Social Security's $43,000 between you and your spouse, or $50,000 or whatever it is. There's a delta there. The delta might be $20,000-$25,000. You say, I got a nest egg, I got $1 million, or I got 500 grand, and that if that produces 4%, that's the $23,000 I need to. So you do the math. Yeah. It's a yellow pad. It's 15 minutes of math.
Right.
You'd be surprised how many people don't do that.
Right.
So it's important to do.
How many people, when you're looking at retirement, do people come to you to talk about what happens next with their 401k? Mm-hmm. I mean, because that's a big thing. The weird thing is I do see that. We know 401k is a good place to put money. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the disbursement, I don't know that people kind of understand how that works as much, or how the tax system works on that. If you pay taxes on that because they were deferred during the savings, I mean, how does that work?
Sure. So that's part of the education process of a client. When a client comes in, if they have a 401k, sometimes it doesn't make sense to roll it over, and there can be reasons for that. But also 401ks have limited choices in terms of what you can use and buy. So a lot of times to roll it over does make some sense. A lot of people get confused. Well, if I take it out of there, I'm going to have to pay. No, you're not going to pay taxes, because you're going to roll it to what we call another qualified vehicle, in this case an IRA. So you can go from a 401k to an IRA. You can go from a Roth 401k to a Roth IRA. These are all things you can do. So if you have a local provider you like to use, you can do that if that's the best decision to make. And there are numerous reasons why it could be, and there's numerous reasons why it might not be. Yeah. And that's why you sit down and spend some time with, typically I would think, with an advisor just to run you through those options.
And I think that's super important, because a lot of people get caught up in this whole thing. They're like, well, they see a couple $100,000, $300,000-$400,000 sitting there at the end of their life. They're like, wow, I could just take this out of here, go make a big investment, buy gold, whatever the case may be. And
Bitcoin.
I love that you laugh about that. Yeah, Bitcoin, whatever, thinking they're gonna take their little nest egg they've worked so hard for, and then just kind of double that. They're gonna be living the life in Vegas every night. But to go in that with a plan and get an idea of what you're going to be, what your disbursement's going to look like, it allows you to kind of create a life plan. Where you're going to live, your habits, your hobbies, the travel you're going to be able to do, and it just seems like it would be a much easier way to handle things. Is this something you do all the time?
It's what we do day in and day out. So the planning goes, we usually start planning for somebody's retirement, sometimes 20, 30 years out. Sometimes they come in and they're serious. They're like, oh my gosh, this is real. This is actually
right.
I mean, for me, I'm pushing 60 now, and I'm like, holy crap, how'd this happen? I used to be a young guy in this business. So, even for me, I'm doing it. I'm like, all right, I need to supplement my income. I'm going to get this Social Security. My wife's going to get that. We have this much money saved. That should produce this much income at this dividend rate, so on and so forth. And this thing's coming down the road where we might want to buy a second home or whatever things matter to you. We want to fund an education for a grandchild. This is just math. People get all caught up conceptually in how confused. It's not. It's hard, but it's not complex. How much money do I need, and how do I supplement it?
And then it just takes sacrifice after the fact, because once you have that money and that's it, that's all you're going to make. You can't go back to work, kind of thing. You kind of understand. And do you do that with people? Do you give them not fatherly advice?
Oh yeah.
But when you say, hey, look, you're going to have about $5,500 a month to spend with your disbursement and your Social Security, and that's all you're going to have. Here's how you need to do that. Or do you just say, this is what you have, go off and do your thing?
No, I'm a taskmaster. So if somebody comes in, and this has happened on occasion where it doesn't happen a lot, but people come in and they say, I say, look, you can afford to spend $4,000 out of your account every single month. And if you do that and you stay within the confines of that, you'll be just fine. And the next thing I know, they're buying a Harley, and a boat, and a whatever. And I'm like, this isn't what we talked about, and you're going to run out of money. Right. Did you like working? Because that's where you're headed back to, right? So I 100% will say that in a heartbeat, because I don't want to make the phone call that, oh, P.S., that's your last check.
Right, yeah, that's it, buddy.
I do not want to have that conversation.
Have you had that before?
I've never had it because I address it early.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good job. Scott, you will be at Orlando Country Club November 17th.
15th.
15th, I'm sorry. That's 11 a.m.
Yep.
Go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com. You can register for the class there and learn a little bit more about your own money. That'd be smart.
And you'll get fed.
Yeah, and you'll get fed as well.
That's the awesome part.
Let me ask you, do you get more people who come in and don't know anything and ask, or more people who come in that think they know more and are looking for you to confirm their ideas?
Ooh, good one.
I would say it's 70% people who have humility, and they may know something, but they realize they don't know everything. And then we get 30% of the people who just want to tell me what I'm doing wrong. So
they want to pay you so they can overlord. I love that.
But something in their psyche brought them there.
Yes. I love those guys, and it's almost always a guy, by the way.
Really?
Not a big shocker.
I'm not kidding.
That doesn't sound
I can see he's sitting in the front row with his arms crossed. I can always tell the guy. And oh, by the way, he just ate the whole steak, so I don't know what he's complaining about.
He's the guy dying to give away the magician's secrets.
Yes.
Well, Scott, always good seeing you, buddy. That's Edgewater Family Wealth. Again, edgewaterfamilywealth.com. Get over there November 15th. That's 11 o'clock at Orlando Country Club. They're having a seminar there. It doesn't cost you a thing to join, and they'll even feed you. Plus, you may get some information that could change your life.
It could happen.
Always good seeing you, buddy.
Likewise.
Scott Brown, give it up good and loud.